The feds just executed a major sweep, and Future's blood brother FBG Casino is now staring down a federal sentence that could potentially lock him away for life. This case has the entire hip-hop community on edge because behind Casino's flashy lifestyle and free bands connections, he was allegedly running a large-scale operation that ended with federal agents kicking down doors and recovering 21 kilograms of product and nearly $400,000 in cash. What actually brought Casino down is a lot more complicated than it looks on the surface, and the feds appear to be building something much bigger that could even reach toward Future himself. Yo, what's good, fam? Today we're digging deep into some real federal drama shaking the Atlanta hip-hop scene. And trust me, this story has way more layers than you think. The street's been buzzing ever since Casino got snatched up, but we're here to separate the facts from the rumors, the real from the exaggerated. November 19, 2025, remember that date. That's the day everything changed for 41-year-old Rico DeVille Boyce, better known as FBG Casino, the actual blood brother of Future. He was chilling at an Airbnb in Forest Park, Georgia, when a federal task force rolled in like a tornado. And before you assume this was just another routine police arrest, let's make something clear, these are federal charges. Mandatory minimums. Serious time. The kind of case where Rico starts floating around before anyone even steps into a courtroom. But here's where things get interesting. Casino has allegedly been moving like this for years, so the real questions are, why now? And why him? Let's rewind a bit. On November 14, 2025, agents from the FBI, DEA, and Clayton County Police descended on that Forest Park rental house like something out of a movie. The moment Casino saw them coming, he tried to escape through a side door. Imagine it, 41 years old, sprinting like he's still a young dude in the trenches. But federal agents don't pull up without a plan. They had him mapped out, tracked, and cornered. When they grabbed him, he had $4,000 in his pockets. For most folks, that's a lot of money. But for someone allegedly moving the weight Casino was connected to, that's nothing but walking around cash. Running from cops is normal instinct in the hood. But when it's federal agents, that's a whole different level. And this wasn't some small street corner hustle. The operation the feds described was organized, steady, and multi-state. Let me introduce you to the other key name in this case, David Esteban Montailo Diaz, a 23-year-old from Coachella, California. He's the one tied to Casino through an interstate connection that almost certainly caught the feds' attention. When you move product from California to Georgia, that becomes interstate trafficking, and that's when the feds show up with badges, paperwork, and a whole lot of patience. Diaz probably thought he was making some fast money. Now he's staring at the same potential life sentence as Casino. Inside the property, agents discovered what they were really after. 21 kilograms of illegal product. $380,000 in cash. A money counter. A vacuum sealing machine. A Glock 19. They also found another $80,000 stuffed inside a designer bag belonging to Casino. That's not some random street-level setup, that's a structured operation. And to make all this even more surreal, Casino literally appeared in Future's music video. Feds did a sweep, surrounded by cash, product, and imagery that mirrors exactly what he's accused of doing. It's almost like he told the world what was happening, and the feds watched the video and said, say less. Casino wasn't just some random guy tied to Future, he's been right beside him for years. Fans who have followed Future since the early days know exactly who Casino is. He's not a background character. He's family, he's free bands, and he's someone Future has always kept close through music and through real life. But even with all that, Casino always had one foot in the streets. He rapped about it, he lived it, and many people around him felt like he never fully shut the door on that lifestyle, even as Future's fame skyrocketed. And now, with these new federal charges, the question, how deep was he really in, is no longer just a rumor floating online, it's something the feds are now documenting line by line. Before he caught the Fed case that's making headlines today, Casino had already been on the radar. Most fans don't remember this, but back in 2013, he survived a shootout that left him with bullet wounds and nearly killed him. That incident was one of the first signs that his life outside the booth was dangerous and complicated. Future was already blowing up at the time, but Casino continued to move as if fame didn't change the streets he came from. That shootout wasn't just a random moment, it created tension, enemies, and a reputation around Casino that followed him for years. To his fans, he was the tough, unbreakable voice behind tracks like Killin', Hit, and Thug. To the streets, he was someone moving heavy, someone people respected, and someone the law was already watching. And then came the first major legal blow. Years before this 2025 case, Casino was hit with charges for running a large-scale operation that moved massive amounts of product from California into Georgia. It was almost identical to the pattern the feds just busted him for. Back then, he beat most of the charges, but the case didn't truly disappear. It just went quiet. Because here's the thing about the feds, they play the long game. If they think you slipped away the first time, they don't forget. They just watch longer, build thicker files, track more phones, follow more people, and wait until the evidence is bulletproof. For Casino, this new arrest feels like the feds coming back for a case they always believed was bigger than what they could prove the first time. And the details from the current investigation are painting a picture that the feds believe Casino never stopped moving weight, even as he stood right beside one of the biggest rappers in the world. He dropped tapes. He shot music videos. He traveled with Future. But behind it all, according to the feds, the operation never stopped, it just got more sophisticated. Even the way Casino moved made the feds suspicious. He didn't use typical street methods. He used short-term rentals, airbooms, rotating pickup points, and trusted couriers from the West Coast. In the eyes of investigators, that took him out of local street dealer territory and placed him into organized distribution network territory. And when you reach that category, the feds don't send local police, they send task forces. But here's the twist that has social media buzzing: Casino's rap lyrics over the years have been shockingly detailed. He rapped about moving loads, switching houses, and keeping Cali plugged in, which now mirror parts of the federal indictment almost line for line. Fans always assumed he was exaggerating, or simply playing up his image. But with the new evidence the feds claim to have, those lyrics are hitting differently now. The other major question floating around: whether Future might get pulled into this investigation, not because he was involved, but because when you're connected to someone the feds say was running a multi-state operation, they don't ignore the people around him. Once the DEA started tracing Casino's movements, the investigation changed from a routine drug case into something far more calculated. The feds weren't watching him for weeks, they were watching him for years. And they weren't just following him directly, they were tracking the people around him, the cars he used, the flights he took, and the phone numbers that rotated through his circle. This is where the California connection becomes the center of everything. According to the documents tied to the case, the operation the feds claim Casino was part of relied heavily on a West Coast supplier who distributed weight through a chain of trusted middlemen. Casino wasn't traveling across the country carrying product himself. He allegedly orchestrated movement using couriers, rental cars, and short-term apartments that constantly changed locations. It's the kind of setup you only see in long-running, high-level operations, exactly the type the DEA loves to dismantle. The feds say they were able to link him to the California pipeline because of two major breakthroughs. The first was phone data. They didn't just look at call logs. They pulled tower pings, text threads, encrypted app activity, and even voice notes that were deleted but later recovered from cloud backups. One of the biggest pieces of evidence came from a phone that wasn't even registered in Casino's name, but allegedly moved everywhere he moved. The feds believe this ghost phone was his main communication line with sources in California. The second breakthrough came from travel records. Casino traveled frequently: studio trips, shows, photo shoots, and business with Future's camp. But the feds noticed something: even when he traveled for music, his itinerary often overlapped with the travel patterns of known couriers. For example, there were several instances where Casino flew into Los Angeles the same week a drop was believed to have occurred, and then returned to Atlanta just days before the product hit the streets. None of this proves guilt on its own, but this is how the feds build their cases, small patterns stacked on top of larger ones until the picture becomes too clear to ignore. Then came surveillance. Unmarked cars followed the couriers from LAX to apartments rented under fake names. Packages were moved at night. Some were stored for only hours before being picked up again and placed into other vehicles headed east. And every time the DEA got close, the operation switched locations, new Airbnb, new driver, new process. The feds believed that level of organization didn't come from someone low on the ladder. What made Casino stand out was how careful he was. He never touched anything directly. He used intermediaries. He communicated through coded language. He switched vehicles often. All this, to the DEA, suggested leadership, not participation. But even with all that, they still couldn't connect him physically to the product. They needed something stronger. That something came when agents intercepted one of the couriers at a traffic stop outside Phoenix. What they found matched the exact packaging the pipeline was known for, sealed bundles wrapped the same way every time. Once the courier was taken in, the feds say he immediately folded, telling investigators that Casino was the one coordinating the pickups. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen, but in federal court, a cooperating witness is one of the most powerful tools the government has. After that, investigators linked the courier's phone to multiple calls with the same ghost number Casino allegedly used. This was the moment the feds felt confident enough to tie him directly to the pipeline. But the biggest shocker came when the DEA traced payments, Cash App transfers, Zelle deposits, stacks of cash dropped at certain locations. Every payment led back to the same network. And while nothing shows Casino touching the money physically, the digital trail painted a different story. This is the point where Future's name began popping up online, not because he was involved, but because people started questioning how someone so close to him could be running something so big without anyone noticing. When news of Casino's arrest hit social media, the first name everyone mentioned wasn't Casino, it was Future. Not because Future had anything to do with the case, but because of how close their bond has always been. To many fans, Casino wasn't just another artist under the Freebands label, he was someone Future treated like a brother. They toured together, recorded together, and moved as a unit for years. That's why the public reaction was immediate. Is Future going to be questioned? Did he know what Casino was doing? Could this spill over into the rap world? Let's be clear, nothing in the federal paperwork mentions Future. No financial ties. No phone calls. No suspicious travel. There's no indication he was aware of anything investigators are alleging about Casino's operation. But the internet doesn't operate on facts, it runs on connections, assumptions, and any piece of drama people can turn into a narrative. Future's team moved quickly. Within hours of Casino's arrest trending, sources close to the rapper quietly let several outlets know that Future had zero involvement and was completely shocked by the situation. According to those around him, the arrest blindsided him just like it blindsided fans. And that makes sense. Future has been at a different level of success for years, world tours, chart-topping albums, constant studio sessions, and major brand deals. His life is non-stop motion, and the people in his inner circle say he barely has time to keep up with his own schedule, let alone somebody else's personal moves. Still, Future understands how the industry works. When someone close to you gets caught in a federal case, especially one involving interstate trafficking, the heat doesn't stay in one place. It spreads. Fans question loyalty. Labels question liability. And federal agents? They question everything. Behind the scenes, Future's legal team is reportedly monitoring the situation closely. Not because they fear he's involved, but because anytime a major artist's name pops up online in connection with a federal indictment, lawyers go into protection mode. They don't wait for questions, they prepare for them. People inside Freeband say Future is more disappointed than anything. Casino had opportunities, music, a platform, access, success, and still stayed connected to the streets in ways that became dangerous. Future has always supported his people, but there's a limit to how much one man can control what grown adults choose to do. What's even more intense is how this situation mirrors what's been happening across the rap industry. Young Thug, Ghana, Pooh Shiesty, Casanova, artists left and right have been tied to cases where street life and rap life collided. Federal agents have made it clear they're becoming more aggressive with investigations involving rappers and their affiliates. Future isn't on trial, isn't being investigated, and isn't named in anything, but being close to someone who can still cause complications. It affects touring schedules, sponsorship deals, label meetings, and public perception. Artists today have to manage their image the same way companies manage brands. What Future doesn't want is this situation being twisted into a narrative that paints him as being connected to something illegal. He's built too much, worked too hard, and climbed too far to let someone else's choices pull him into a storyline he had nothing to do with. But there's another angle people aren't talking about, the internal emotional side. Future has lost friends, seen artists from his circle fall, and watched the streets claim people close to him. Casino getting caught up in something this serious adds another layer of stress to an artist who already carries a heavy load privately. Still, the biggest question remains. How strong is the evidence the feds have, and what does Casino face next? Now, let's break down the legal storm Casino is facing. The charges are federal, meaning they carry serious weight. We're not talking about a simple street-level possession case. This is alleged conspiracy, distribution of controlled substances across state lines, and involvement in a sophisticated operation with multiple people. In federal court, even being connected can carry massive consequences. Casino is reportedly facing a mandatory minimum of 10 years, with a maximum of life in prison. At 41 years old, this could be a life-altering sentence. And federal prosecutors don't negotiate lightly when they believe someone ran a multi-state operation. They're also likely examining financial trails, property, and personal assets to see if they were involved in money laundering or funding further operations. Every dollar, every wire transfer, every account can be scrutinized. The strategy from Casino's legal team will likely focus on separating him from the bigger narrative. They will argue he's being targeted for association, not leadership. They will also dig into how the feds gathered evidence, how surveillance was conducted, whether his rights were protected, and if there were any missteps in the multi-agency operation. But make no mistake, when the DEA, FBI, and other federal agencies team up, their cases are rarely sloppy. One of the most critical pieces in this puzzle is cooperation from co-defendants. David Montailo Diaz from California could play a huge role. If he flips fully and testifies, it could connect Casino to the entire operation, including the movements across state lines. Federal cases often hinge on witnesses from within the operation. The feds rarely rely solely on intercepted communications, they want someone who can testify to the hierarchy, the money, and the workflow. Then there's the media and public perception factor. Casino's image as Future's brother and a former rapper adds layers. The narrative online will shape how casual fans and the public see him, which can indirectly affect the court of public opinion. For people following hip-hop culture, Casino is both a cautionary tale and a dramatic headline. And for federal prosecutors, every public statement, every social media post, every music video, even old lyrics, can be used as evidence. Speaking of lyrics, let's be real, Casino's past work might come back to haunt him. Lines about moving product, life in the streets, and loyalty to the game could be dissected and presented as reflective of his alleged operations. The same approach was seen with YSL and Young Thug, where prosecutors argued that lyrics weren't just art, they were confessions, context, and corroboration. What's at stake isn't just Casino's freedom. If prosecutors successfully tie him to a broader operation, Future could indirectly be dragged into questions about FBG as an organization. They won't accuse him without evidence, but they will explore financial transactions, label structure, and business dealings to determine if any part of the label benefited from illegal activity. That's why Future's legal team is proactive. Preparation is key, even if no wrongdoing is suspected. Ultimately, Casino's case is a lesson in consequence, timing, and loyalty. He had the blueprint for success right in front of him. His brother's empire, access to the music industry, and millions to build a legitimate life. Yet he chose to stay in the streets, running operations that allegedly spanned states and involved serious risk. The streets are loyalty-driven, but federal law doesn't forgive ambition in the wrong places. Casino's story is a stark reminder, even family ties, fame, or access to wealth cannot shield someone from federal prosecution if they cross the line. As for the future, literally, it's uncertain. Will Casino fight the charges and go to trial? Will there be a plea deal? And how much will this impact FBG, Future, and the broader Atlanta hip-hop scene? One thing is clear, the feds are watching, and so is the public. This case isn't just about one man caught with 21 kilos or hundreds of thousands in cash. It's about power, influence, and how quickly things can spiral when street life intersects with fame and federal scrutiny. Casino's story is far from over, and the next chapters will determine whether loyalty and ambition are worth the ultimate price, freedom. Yo, fam, before we wrap this up, I need you to do something real quick. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates on this wild story. Casino's case is just getting started, and trust me, the feds don't move slow. Every development could shake the entire Atlanta hip-hop scene, and you'll want to be the first to know. Now, I want you to drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Casino's choices are a cautionary tale, or was he set up from the start? How much responsibility do you think Future carries here? Could this spill over and affect FBG as a whole? I want to hear your take. This is more than entertainment, it's about real-life consequences, loyalty, and the intersection of fame and street life. And don't just watch this one. Check the video on your screen right now about how the feds built the Young Thug case. The playbook they used there might be the same one they're using now against FBG, and it's crucial for understanding how deep this could go. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and remember, the streets are watching, the feds are watching, and so are we.